Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into a super mysterious, nearly 500-year-old book. It's filled with these bizarre, beautiful drawings, and we're going to explore what they might just reveal about the secret architecture of our own minds.
Okay, so get this. In 2022, a single copy of a book from way back in 1550 sold at an auction for almost $18,000. So you gotta ask, what on earth makes an ancient alchemy text that valuable?
Well, the book is called the Rosarium Philosophorum, which means the philosopher's rose garden. And this isn't just some dusty old manuscript. It's one of the most legendary collections of alchemical wisdom ever. You can think of it like a symbolic recipe book for transformation.
But here's the twist. The real reason it's so valuable, and why we're talking about it today, has nothing to do with turning lead into gold. Nope. Its deeper meaning was really unlocked in the 20th century, revealing what some believe is actually a hidden map of the human soul.
But before we can really start exploring that map, we need to get the lay of the land, understand where it came from.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the book itself. Then we're going to see how it got completely reimagined by a giant in the world of psychology. We'll walk through the first part of its symbolic journey, and then, this is the good part, we'll uncover a huge and really important omission. After that, we'll explore the missing second half, and finally, we'll get into why this whole centuries-old debate might actually matter to us today.
Okay, so the story of this book takes a pretty sharp turn in the 1940s. And that's all thanks to the brilliant and, let's be honest, controversial psychologist Carl Jung.
So Jung, he looks at these strange, wild images in the Rosarium, and he sees something else entirely. He didn't think it was a recipe for chemicals at all. He saw it as this powerful metaphor for our own psychology, a symbolic guide to personal growth, that journey toward what he called the integrated self.
And he got really specific. He used these bizarre, even explicit illustrations to explain a deep psychological process he named transference. It's that invisible web of expectations and assumptions that we project onto other people, the stuff that shapes our most intense relationships, for better or for worse.
Now, Jung's whole analysis focused almost entirely on the first big cycle of transformation you see in the book's drawings.
This first stage in alchemy is called the albedo, or the whitening. And you should think of it as a journey of the mind. It's all about moving from a place of darkness and confusion toward the light, toward clarity, insight, and real self-awareness.
And this whole thing plays out like a drama in 3 acts. The journey kicks off when opposites unite, symbolized by a king and a queen. But then, for something new to be born, the old self, the old ego has to symbolically die, to just dissolve away. And it's only from that breakdown that a new, more whole self can emerge.
And the final result is this figure called the rebus, or sometimes the hermaphrodite. It combines both masculine and feminine principles, and it's this incredibly powerful symbol for finishing the first-grade work. It's like this triumphant moment of psychological wholeness.
But, and this is a huge but, that triumphant moment is exactly where we stumble upon the central mystery of this whole story.
Because if you read Jung's landmark essay on this, the story pretty much ends right here. He holds up this moment of mental clarity, this whitening, as the main goal, the finish line.
And this is where things get really interesting. See, the original Rosarium Philosophorum, the complete version, it has 20 illustrations that tell the full story. But Jung? He based his incredibly influential theory on just the first 10. He literally left out half the map.
So you have to wonder why. What happens in that forgotten chapter? And what does it mean for how we think about what it takes to be a whole person if we put that missing piece back in?
All right, so let's do what Jung didn't. Let's dive into that missing second act, the part of the journey he left on the cutting room floor.
This second cycle is called the citrinitis, or the yellowing. And it isn't just a repeat of the first part, it's the total opposite. If the whitening was this clean, upward climb of the mind toward a pure, abstract insight, then the yellowing is a messy, complicated journey back down. It's the soul returning to the lived, gritty experience of the body. It's about taking all that clarity you found and seeing if it can actually survive the friction of real life.
And what's fascinating is that Jung himself seems to have known this was a problem. He actually wrote, and you can see it right here, that in this state of whiteness, one doesn't really live, that it needs blood to come alive. So his critics argue that by leaving out the yellowing, Jung's map can leave us stuck in this kind of beautiful but sterile silvery peace, a state of pure intellect that's totally disconnected from the messiness of being human.
The yellowing, that's the process that adds the blood. It's what forces that integrated mind to come back down to earth and actually deal with the wisdom and the pain and the simple reality of having a body. It's what saves the soul from just, as one modern writer so brilliantly put it, endlessly polishing the psychoanalytic mirror.
So after all that, what does a 500-year-old fight over alchemy diagrams actually mean for us, right here, right now?
Well, we've seen how this strange, ancient book became a revolutionary map for understanding ourselves. And we've also seen how the most famous version of that map might only be telling us half of the story. It focuses on the mind going up, but it kind of forgets about the soul needing to come back down.
So the complete Rosarium, with all 20 of its images, it leaves us with this really provocative question. It suggests that maybe true, lasting wholeness isn't just found by getting to that peak of intellectual clarity. Maybe the real work is having the courage to bring all that clarity back down to earth with you and anchor it in the felt reality of your very bones.